Welcome to Therapist Take Podcast. We're going to talk about AI as it relates to therapy, so don't go anywhere. Hello, Carrie.
Hello, Josh.
I changed it from hi, Carrie.
I know.
Yeah. I think as Xander said, do you do the hi, Carrie thing? I'm like, I'm going to change it this time.
Oh,
just to
you
throw
don't
him
want to
off.
be
Yeah.
predictable.
That's right.
Well, we're talking about technology and algorithms, so
Yeah, but we always transitioned into Dumb and Dumber. Always works its way into our
it
conversations.
It does.
Because it can relate to anything.
Yeah, it can. It's very. It's like the Swiss Army knife, right?
Yeah.
Of movies.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think that it's relatable because sometimes it just feels like everything is dumb.
Everything is dumb.
Why do we do the things we do? It's
I
dumb.
don't know.
It's pretty dumb.
I know.
So, how are you feeling about the topic, the AI
Well,
in therapy?
I was more on board with it. I'm surprised to hear about your response.
Yeah. So Xander, who is our new producer, Xander, say hi.
Hello, everybody.
Xander's also a licensed marital and family therapist, and so he will definitely weigh in from time to time. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts on certain things. But he came up with the topic, and it's actually one that I have avoided because it just feels a little intimidating. Mm-hmm. And then so when he sent it out, you're like, let's do that very first one. And it was on AI in therapy. I was like, okay, I guess we're doing the AI one, the AI in therapy topic.
Well, then I want you to talk about why you feel that way as we go through this.
Okay. Do you want me to do it now?
Well, I mean, can it fit into the...
I don't know. It might. Well, it's a good question. I honestly, I haven't really thought about it. I think maybe because I haven't read up enough on kind of what's happening with it in terms of like are there AI therapists out there? I know that my wife had mentioned a podcast to me that I didn't watch or listen to, which was she was telling me about someone that had created an AI persona, like an avatar of themselves. So they cloned themselves into AI, and then their AI signed up for therapy on BetterHelp. And I think she said he let it go like 2 or 3 sessions before he finally revealed to the therapist that this was his AI. Oh. And of course the therapist was like, she had wondered, like she had felt like there was something that was a bit odd, but that was kind of not like normal. You'd think of like, it's like, this is a bit off or something. The things that are off are usually things we're helping people with, but this is not something that this felt a little weird. Like she was wondering what it was, but it still went on for like 2 or 3 sessions before. So it was just, so again, for the long-winded answer is that I think it's just because I haven't read up on what's going on with it mostly. So.
Oh, okay.
But you're not intimidated by it?
Oh, no, I didn't say that.
Oh. Well, if you are, then what are your reasons?
If I am intimidated? Or no, I guess... no, I don't have a lot of knowledge.
It's an intimidating topic.
It is intimidating. It feels vast.
To me anyway,
it feels like an ocean. Like
right.
I'll never know it all. And
sure.
I'm okay with that in concept. But I do feel like the next part of being a practitioner is going to be how to use it, how to know the quality, places for things, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be, afraid. And I also don't want to, Xander and I were talking a little bit before we started, I don't want to become just reliant on it without like fact checking it.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
I said go back to grad school and become a critical thinker, a critical analyzer, right, of your information. Right.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to be reliant on it as fact, so we were like, I need to go check Google.
Yeah, I know, right.
Xander, do you have a reason why you picked it?
I just seems really relevant, I think, right now. I mean, I've got a lot of clients who are talking about AI. I know that it's everywhere, like we were talking about. If you just Google something right now, the AI will show up and will tell you what you need to know. And you were talking about, like, it's a pretty good And so I don't, I just believe it and I don't
Yeah.
check it. It's like so easy to hide misinformation and those kinds of
Yes.
things. And I don't think the AI, even if it's not malicious, it still is just
Yeah.
going to tell you what it thinks you want to hear.
Right.
It's hard to know if things are true anymore.
Right.
But don't you think
Right.
there's something to like, it feels more reliable to say, well, ChatGPT said versus
Yes.
Google said.
It's hard to know.
That's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that may shift as Google moves into the AI space more, right?
Right.
But yeah, there's a level of authority when you say ChatGPT, right? Than
Yeah.
just Google.
It's like ChatGPT did a little more work than Google.
Perhaps.
Feels that way.
Perhaps that's our
But do I?
perception.
Yeah, I was like,
But
do I
is
know that for sure?
I
Yeah.
don't. Have
But-
I Googled?
but-
Does Google
right.
do better
So
than
can
people tell me
ChatGPT?
that?
We've
Yeah.
used AI from business in many ways, and one thing we were doing once
Yeah.
was trying to work out a math problem, basically with our pay structure and everything like that, and ChatGPT had all the math wrong.
It
Yeah.
all
It was
wrong.
really bad.
Well, I
Yeah.
think the way that these language models work is, and I'm way out of my depth here, but they are predicting what the most likely next word is, right? So they take in a lot of data. They're trained with like tons of internet material, which that's already kind of ethically gray, because a lot of artists have
Right.
their stuff, and then ChatGPT gets to use it, or these AI models.
Yes.
So like what ChatGPT will do is it will see math problems that end in certain numbers are usually associated with answers that end in certain numbers. And so it doesn't necessarily do the math. It just, says, well, usually when you have these kinds of numbers, this is the
Wow.
kind of result that you can see. I don't know if they're adding to that. I think like they're trying to address it and like actually put like a calculator in there.
Okay.
Right.
As far as what I know, it's just generative. It's just trying to guess at what
Rather
the most
than actually,
actually-
solving.
right.
Right. Mm.
Yeah.
right.
I did not know that. That's
I
interesting.
didn't either. It's a good thing we didn't rely on it.
That's right. I
We
mean, it's a
went
good
back
thing I checked it.
Well,
Because
yeah.
I went through. It's like it just didn't seem right.
Yeah.
And then I went and double checked it. I'm like, this is wrong.
Wrong, and it was really
And then
wrong.
I typed into ChatGPT. I was like, you were wrong about this. ChatGPT's like, good catch. I'm like,
It's
don't you think you should have caught
differential
it?
in its response to you? Yeah.
But then it's like this is where it starts feeling like a little humanizing, right? It's like I'm like, you should have caught that.
Yeah.
And the other thing I catch myself doing too is I catch myself saying please when I ask
I've
ChatGPT to
I've
do
noticed
something.
you do that. Yeah.
Like please, like, and I know like when we got our Roomba for our house, and if you don't have a Roomba, do you have one yet?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I think they're amazing, and just kind of as a joke, if you're Xander, you might not be familiar with this, but do you know the cartoon The Jetsons?
Yeah, I remember. I have a core memory of the Jetsons.
Okay.
But yeah,
Which is an interesting story with the conversation. It fits into the conversation because with the Jetsons, they had the robot named Rosie, right? And so we named our Roomba Rosie.
Sure.
And then my, or you have Alexa, right? And all these different names associated with these. And so like when my kids would be like, Alexa, stop, or something, I'm like, hey, talk to her.
I
like
know.
that.
I make my kids say
And-
please.
Right. And it's like,
It's so weird.
because once you humanize it, it's like
Yeah,
you got to throw
yeah.
in some respect there. But speaking of the Jetsons, one thing that's interesting, and this is something I was listening on a podcast, is like the Jetsons really illustrates what they thought the future was going to be like. That you would have a robot that would do all the tasks, like that would be your taxi driver, that would be, that would clean your house, that would cook you food, and not really thinking that the items themselves would just become the robots. So the vacuum cleaner is the robot, and now we got with I think it is Google that's doing the self-driving cars. What are they called?
Oh yeah.
I can't remember.
I know. I can see it.
On a
right?
different day, I'd have the word, but so we got self-driving cars. Basically, if you've ever been out to LA or Phoenix, you'll see them all over the place. So it's just interesting to see how way back when that cartoon was being made, what they thought the future would be. It just made sense that a robot would do all these
Right.
things. It's like, no, each
And
thing
a
would
robot
actually
does
be a
it,
robot.
but the thing is the robot.
The thing is the robot,
Right.
yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
But before we go any further, let me just cover the housekeeping things with everybody. Just remind you to please, if you're watching us on YouTube and you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified when more of our videos are posted. If you're on Facebook, please head over to YouTube and also subscribe to our channel. We will re-upload an edited version of this at some point to our podcast platforms and then also back to YouTube. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, please just stop what you're doing for half a second, give us a 5-star review, and then come back and listen away. And then, of course, in the show notes of the podcast version and the re-upload in YouTube, like so the description of the video, we usually try to put a lot of resources. It'll be interesting to see what the AI resources we'll put in. We'll probably ask ChatGPT.
We'll ask the AI to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we appreciate the support that we've had on the podcast. We also have a link that you can submit a question to us, and that is, I think we've said the last couple ones that we'd have it in there, and I didn't put it in there, but it is in there now. It's in there right now, actually, and you can click on that link and feel free to submit a question for the podcast.
Yeah, very good.
All right, so yeah, we are talking about AI in therapy, and we have 4 main things we're going to cover as normal, 4 main points. And so we're going to begin with talking about the therapist role, our role in an AI era, basically. Also, that's kind of what we were talking about just a minute ago, utilizing AI as a tool. We're going to talk about the psychological impact that it has on clients, or that we've read about, heard about, or experienced it with our own clients. And then just kind of the overall, future of mental health care as it relates to a rapidly evolving
artificial
AI.
intelligence. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
And we're going to solve the problem in
And move
30
on.
minutes
Yeah.
and move on. Yeah.
Solved.
Be done.
Yep.
Yeah. And we won't have to worry. It won't have to be intimidating
That's
anymore.
right. You'll feel completely
Right.
comfortable, Josh.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the first one.
Okay.
On the therapist role and AI. I can't say it.
And that is hard. Too many
AI
N's.
era. It's a lot of vowels in that, starting those words.
Yeah, it is.
In an AI era. They all start with a vowel. Sorry. A little squirrel moment.
I know.
Sorry.
Okay. Back to it.
All right. So
Back to it.
so we have Xander's got a question for us on each one of these that we'll kind of use as a prompt.
Sure. So
Okay,
the first
great.
question is, how does AI challenge the traditional role of therapists, and will AI replace us?
You know what I thought of when I don't know if it's relevant or not, but it was just kind of a weird feeling because I wrote that question out, and when I wrote that out, I was like, gosh, it sounds like a bunch of political stuff going on, like replacement,
Oh, yeah.
and all that, like, and it's just like this this fear of being replaced.
Have you worried about that, or was it like the
I
first
haven't.
moment?
No,
that
I
you
mean, I
had?
think it's just been. I mean, it's just been everywhere on the news and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think I've really worried about. I really don't worry about AI replacing us.
You don't?
Yeah, and I have theory on that.
Okay, go.
Okay.
What's your take? Literally.
I think people always want the human experience. Like, I think people always know the difference,
Okay.
and so I don't think there will be anything quite as valuable as having the human experience. I also don't worry about AI replacing like a Matrix type situation.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because this is just what makes sense to me, and I'm sure there's scientists out there that are listening to this podcast
Probably.
that are like, you're all wrong, Josh. We need to come on your show and correct you. But for a machine or a system to want to live, to want to survive, that seems emotional. Like that's emotionally driven, which is not. The machine doesn't care one way or another if it survives.
But I think some of them are getting programmed to care.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I thought about that too. Is like, unless, there's like, some kind of like someone says, care, like prioritize your survival over everything else, but don't ruin it for me, Carrie.
Okay. All right.
Like,
All right. You're right. I'm taking away like your little blankie there, right? You're not
yeah,
feeling so
but in
cozy.
terms of like AI just kind of evolving into this emotional being, I don't
Yeah.
see that happening. Is all I'm saying.
Oh, I don't know. I think it can, but my brain goes to, I do worry about being replaced, but I worry about that in lots of contexts, right? That
Mm-hmm.
I'll lose my skill. There'll be, anyways. So I do worry about it.
Yeah.
But then I also swing to the other extreme a lot of time and say, I think people will need human connection more,
Well, yeah.
right? And so I actually feel like there's job security. There's going to be maybe even I don't value. I don't mean in like a not dollars and cents kind of way, but a deep need and value of having human connections, of intimate relationships that are experienced, somatic experiences with others, right?
Yeah.
That when you go to whatever AI system you use or evolve, and you have this interaction, I think that I've used it a little bit. We'll talk about it next, but it's been helpful. It's good information. But it's not the same it's not the same as we know. It's not the same biofeedback neurological experience, right? As it is sitting in a space experiencing something together. And so I actually sometimes I'm like, I think my job will be more important. And then at the same time, my brain goes, yeah, but like, I don't know if I can ever have all the knowledge
Right.
that a system has access to all the knowledge,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think this goes to like what's our role with it, and I think that it's evolving, and I think we have to evolve along with the times. But there's like the idea of machines replacing us has been
Yeah, forever.
forever, right? And Xander, you were talking about like being a millennial, like, and I was reading somewhere once like that my grandfather's generation is like I think he was part of the greatest generation, is that what it's called, the World War II or era, and somewhere I was reading is like that when you think about what that generation saw over a lifetime, so like from early 19th century into like the late 80s, early 90s, so in a span of 8 or 9 decades, the millennials in their 2 to 3 decades have seen more change than that generation had over 9 or 10 decades.
Sure.
And yet we figure it out. We figure out a purpose, or we figure out so now I'm not doing what the machine does, but I'm the one working on the machine. Or how many? Do you guys remember a time you walk into a grocery store and there's like lots of people. You got 2 people per counter that's checking out your stuff, and one's checking it out, another one's bagging it.
Yeah.
And then it evolves to, the little thing where they check it out and then you bag it. Mm-hmm. So they just put it back on the consumer, and then I'm like, what's wrong with this picture here? I'm sitting here like trying scanning my own stuff, and I'm still paying the higher price for it. Like, but yet the unemployment rate is still I think it's pretty low right now.
Yeah, 4
Right?
points.
Yeah.
2.
So we've somehow managed to. So in other words, what I'm saying is that, I think sometimes our fear. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be afraid at times, but sometimes I think it's, if there's one thing history has proven is that we have figured out how to evolve.
And you think that's kind of the role of the therapist in working with clients, is to reflect back that flexibility, adaptability?
Well, how has our I mean, we've been doing this for a couple decades now. Like how, sorry to, but how has therapy evolved just since you and I have started?
Yeah, for sure.
You
Faster,
know?
I think
Yeah,
faster
I mean,
too.
and like, so like one thing we've seen like post COVID is like this rise of, support group type,
Yes,
people
very
getting
much.
involved in, the Samson Society or Celebrate Recovery. A lot of them are spiritually led, but this people are finding a lot of value, and I would agree that it works. It's helpful
I agree.
to be in those communities,
Yeah.
and then there's online materials
Yep.
and stuff like that, and so it's kind of hard a little bit to think of sometimes I think we like to think that we're the only way to do this work is to go see your therapist, but there's so many different
Yeah,
ways
right.
to accomplish the goal.
Right. I agree with that. And I do think our role as a therapist is to know to know what's out there, to know what's helpful.
Right.
Right. And to maybe, if you have the ability, the skill set, the time, whatever, to develop that as well. Right. I mean, you don't
Right.
Xander, I know you haven't been practicing as long as we have, but you probably even know and do things differently than you did right
yeah.
out of school.
Oh,
right.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
It's
you've
crazy to
learned
see.
more.
Yeah, it's crazy to see the difference. But we're talking about what is it that so like AI is going to replace us? That's the fear, right? What is it that AI does that we can't do, or vice versa? What are the things that we can't do that AI can do? Like I think about how AI never takes a break, it never gets tired, it never goes on vacation, it never has a sick day, it's never hungover, it's never right. And like people are human, and like, is there something to be said about the I guess the usefulness
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
accessibility.
Yeah, I think that is a big part of what makes it a tool, right? Is its consistent, and you
Right.
can ask it to write a program for you, right? Rather
Yeah.
than going to your therapist and asking your therapist to do it and getting that sent to you, and you can go to it and say, okay, I want to stop smoking. Write me a plan, right? I want to become a
Right.
more honest person. Write me out a 30-day plan for how
Yeah.
to measure that.
Well-
and it will, right?
Well, this is and so Xander and I were actually talking a little bit about this before you got here this morning. Is that the when we talk about fears and AI replacing us as therapists is not a big fear of mine, but AI replacing my creativity,
Okay.
that is a fear of mine.
Okay.
Because as you know, it is a very core. It's a core value of mine, to be creative and to I even told my kids as much as I held them off on all kinds of social medias for years. One thing I told them they could do is create. I was like, if you're creating, then I'll let you have a YouTube channel or something like that, because I want them to I just something I really value. And since ChatGPT came on the scene, I've really valued it in the sense it has relieved me of a lot of stress and pressure to just help me write an email that I don't have to sit there and think about what it sounds like, how it sounds like. Here's what I want to say. Could you just write one that sounds nice, and then I'll read it and make the edits. And I'm like, man, are we going to rob our future generations of their ability to create? We already took cursive handwriting away from them, which I feel like accesses that creative part of your mind.
Well, it is. It's a different part of the brain.
And so.
But I do think that it is a tool, like you just said. I think it does synthesize information. I had it write some worksheets for me the other day because I was digging around in one of my files. I was like, that's going to take me forever to find these. Let me just see. And they wrote better ones than I had. And I had written the other ones, right? Written them, thought them through. And I was both horrified and good. You know how much I like efficiency. So I was like,
Sure.
Awesome. Right. So yeah, I do think it is a tool. And I do think that part of the reason I wanted to talk about this is an attempt also to hold myself accountable to learning how to use it as a tool. Right.
Yeah.
That is
Absolutely.
important to me.
Well, since we've brought up it being a tool, that's the second point that we're moving into is utilizing AI as a tool. So I think we have a question for that one too, Sam.
Yeah, so what is the difference in AI as a therapist and AI as a tool or a support for a therapist?
Right. So this is where I think you were kind of alluding to this too, Carrie. It's this is where I really value the AI and or where I see how we work alongside AI instead of fearing that it will that it will replace us. So using it in the ways that you talked about, so from a business point of view, we use it all the time for business stuff. For therapy, as a therapist, I'm like, do I how much do I utilize AI? I know I've looked up certain, like when I was supervising at Oklahoma Christian,
Oh, this
and
summer.
I was looking up some systems term because it's easy, and then to go find a systems resource on Google.
I probably have it in my systems book from 20 years
Yeah,
ago, tabbed
yeah.
all if you want to use it again.
Right.
but
So anybody
go
who doesn't
ahead.
know what we're talking about, marriage family therapists are trained in a particular theory called systems theory, and there are
Family
certain
systems,
family systems theory, and so there are certain weird terms that we have and so when you've been removed from it for so long, it was just a nice refresher to go into ChatGPT. I even said like, what are the top 20 systems
Oh, I
theory
love
terms?
that.
Just see what. I was like, oh yeah, I remember positive
Isomorphic?
feedback
Yeah.
loop. Yeah, isomorphic. Yeah, which I couldn't tell you what that one means. Do you know what it means?
I probably could if I thought about it. Now I've got positive feedback though because my brain went to how it's not what you think it is. Sorry,
That's right.
I went on to
Right.
the next one.
Oh man, we're such nerds when it comes
No,
to
God,
that.
nerd out
Yeah,
forever about
like
this.
morphogenesis
Yes.
and morphostasis, and do you remember all these terms?
No, I
Xander?
don't. Those two are not ones that I
Xander's
remember.
like, what are you talking about? I went to OBU.
Yeah.
We've
He
updated.
knows them all. Maybe he remembers.
We just
He's
have
fresher.
new, cool, and better terms than you guys did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you study with Kanan Crane?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a talk with him. Say, why did Xander
Right.
know those
Yeah.
things?
Take him to task. Tell him
Yeah.
I sent you.
That's right.
Yeah. So, but I really haven't thought much about
It as a therapist.
as a therapist. Like, is that a thing? I mean,
Well,
is there?
Yes, it's a thing.
It is. Have you guys heard of WoeBot?
Yeah.
WOE bot. So they're very clear about it not being a therapist. They do a
Yeah.
good job of that. They
Air
lean
quotes.
They lean into the AI. Like this is an AI. It's not generative. Like they have people who write out the actual things that the robot says, but the robot just determines like when to say it and what situations and stuff like that. And I think one of the interesting things that they realized was that they did some research and they saw that people who use WoeBot just like general research, that people are more likely to reach out to an AI than they are to people sometimes. So like, and we've all been there in those moments where things are, you're feeling rough, you're having a rough day, maybe you're in a full-blown episode, like depressive episode, and people say, oh, just reach out to a friend, right? Just like reach out to a therapist or something. And that's impossible sometimes to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so having this like phone right there in your pocket that you can just type in how you feel, and it like really gives you, it's like trained on CBT, like it uses a lot of like, we'd say like good material. But what does it say about us that we're more likely to reach out to a
Yeah.
robot, right?
I think that feels, I mean, my first answer, of course, is that feels safe and non-judgmental.
right.
No one could know that I'm struggling with that, right?
Right.
I mean, wouldn't you say that that's probably what makes therapy effective is the confidentiality of it, right? Not the only, but a huge part of it. But it's even, it could feel, it doesn't to me because I'm a Gen Xer and I'm skeptical of technology, but it could feel more safe because the more anonymous, right,
Right.
than even reaching out to a person.
Yeah.
But I've had clients that have asked therapy questions, and when they show it to me, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. There's been. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. You're like,
I ain't gonna lie.
yeah, no, right.
Yeah.
But I think, that's where like the human element comes in of like,
Sure.
you definitely could prompt some good questions, some good discussions. Like if a couple is
Right.
wanting, like what should we talk about with this, or like what are some conflict resolution skills that, but I think there's something, and maybe this is just wishful thinking, but I think there's just something about the human experience that where we're able to dive in and connect with people in a way, and that's part of the therapy, because we've talked about, I mean, you would probably know this better than me, but isn't there research that's done that's like the effectiveness of therapy is really determined by the relationship
Yeah.
between the client and the therapist, right?
That's the
Right.
biggest predictor
Of success, right? And again, maybe it's just wishful thinking, but I just don't know if we can trick our brains if we'll be that good at tricking our brains into thinking that this connection is real, and if we can do that, it almost seems pathological at that point.
Well, I think that's part of the people that are concerned about AI believe that, or the people that are concerned
Yeah.
with like my kids and our kids' generation, that they won't know the difference.
They won't know
maybe,
the
right?
difference,
Because if ChatGPT writes you a great term paper,
Right.
or, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It gives you good answers. Will you ever know the difference of having that experience with a human, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I again, like I said, I think we're talking about this too because we're trying to figure out how to use it
Yeah.
as a tool, right?
Yeah.
And how it can be helpful. And do I think it can replace it? I don't think at my core. I think it can replace. It's the same thing with if I'm at home and I'm like, you know what? I know my friends are, whatever, getting together. I'm in sweatpants. This is just great. I'll just stay home.
Yeah.
And then when I go, I'm always glad I did. Always,
Yeah,
right? I'm always
right.
like, that was better, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's better. And so maybe that's
Yeah.
my bias too, because that's my lived experience, or maybe it's also because I want to believe that because that's my job.
Yeah. You're right. But I think that, it's happening. We're probably not going to be able to stop it.
No.
Maybe, we can offer enough pushback to help regulate it,
Maybe. I hope so.
to keep it regulated to some degree. But I think, figuring out how to work alongside it is probably, in my view, is kind of the best approach.
Yeah,
It's
I
what
think
makes
so
the most
too.
sense.
I think so too.
Let's talk about the psychological impact it
Okay.
has. What's our question we have for that?
What are the positive and negative impacts you've seen or heard about with clients who have utilized AI as a part of their therapy?
Have you had clients that have basically asked ChatGPT for this and as you, at least the ones I can remember, it was like pretty good.
Yeah.
At least from what I can tell, I'm like, that was pretty good advice, or pretty good observation, if that's
Yeah.
if that's the right word.
Yeah. Yeah. I
so
think it is.
Yeah, so I think there are some positive ways to utilize it to help. I know, like with clients sometimes, and I have to give this caveat, especially when I'm working with couples, is that there's one of the worst things that has happened over the last 2 decades is when it comes to couple communication is text messaging. Email messaging and text messaging. I like
Yeah.
emails better because most people take a little bit of extra time to read their emails before they send them.
Right.
And text messaging is instant. What I like about text messaging over emails is the use of emojis, because with the use of emojis, you can kind of tailor your, you kind of get your point across with the right tone and the right meaning, but it's still digital,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
and so, but some people just can't talk right now, they just, and this is the best that they can do when they're communicating. So I would say, like, what if you, before you send your message, if you run it through ChatGPT and just say, like, make sure you put, like, how you want it to come across, what, tone you're wanting to do, and so that, and then of course read it and make edits if you need to. But I always check with a partner too, say, like, is that okay? Because I don't want this to look like ChatGPT, that you're, having a relationship with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But if this is something that can help this other person formulate sentences better and capture the right tone and get the right meaning across, then I'm like, why not?
Well, it's the classic couples therapy intervention, which is just slowing down their process.
Sure.
Right. And it's just another mechanism, right, to do
Right.
that. I mean, that's what it is, and I think that is a positive, right? That's a good way to use it. I think listening to it though, I'm just thinking about how that's a basic skill theory perspective, right, that we do, and I think that the clients that I've seen get that, either whether they're using it that way, or I've had clients ask, what should I do with this, and it's good information. But we all know that we've been in the room with people that can't do that stuff in the moment because they're too flooded, they're too emotional, they're too raw. and being with us, being in the space with someone, they're borrowing, right, our functioning and our neurobiology, right, and then they can more. I don't know how AI can necessarily offer that, right?
Right.
I need to take a walk. I need to do deep breaths, right?
Right.
I need to do some, usually it's, I mean, a lot of times, especially when you're upset, right? Intense physiological stuff is going to be helpful. But so is coming in and sitting with someone else,
Yeah.
and I'm like, here, we'll get rhythmic together,
Yes,
right?
there's an energy exchange,
Absolutely,
right? Which I
for
think
sure.
AI just can't interact with.
Sure.
Just like by default.
Right.
There's a participation that happens when you come to therapy, and there's energy in the room, and you're, like you said, you're borrowing from the therapist, and you're regulating together. You're co-regulating.
That's right.
You
Yeah.
can't co-regulate with ChatGPT, and I think the dystopian kind of fear that I have with this is like, what happens whenever we don't have any interaction? Everything is filtered
I
through
know.
like the AI,
Yeah.
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Keeping us safe or whatever.
Right. Keeping us like Wall-E, the movie, right?
Yeah.
We just live
Yeah.
in pods and
Right.
are fed information. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And just being an attachment theory person that we all are, and being experientially trained as marriage and family therapists, it just, to me, that feels so foundational and so true that that's CBT is helpful, but I always feel like CBT to me, and I know this could be, blasphemous. To me, it's a tool and not a perspective.
Yes.
I think that attachment theory, and I think, experiential is more than that.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, I know that's fiery in our
Right.
little tiny world of mental health,
Sure.
but it's just because I've seen it work, and it's also because I've seen it work in my personal life, right? Like being close to your kids and proximity is just a game changer for your communication exchanges,
Right.
Versus I hate yelling upstairs. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you mad? No, I'm yelling because you can't hear me. Now I'm mad.
Well, we're seeing some research that's showing the effects of attachment with AI. So you're talking about like attachment.
Yeah,
You-
you're talking about this. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's this term called sycophancy. So it's like the idea of a sycophant, who's like somebody who agrees with you, right on everything, thinks that you're the best person in the world. And this speaks to something you said earlier, Josh, where you corrected ChatGPT, and then it was like, great catch. Like,
Yeah.
wonderful job.
Good catch.
Every
Oh,
time
Josh, you're brilliant. Yeah.
every time you throw it in there,
Stop
it says like,
chat.
right, it kind of builds you up, and I think they do it
Yeah.
on purpose because it builds
Yeah.
engagement. But there are documented cases of people developing psychotic features after interacting with AI because the AI would say things like, you're really smart and this makes a lot of sense and like feels really good, right? And if you have been kind of outcasted already by
Yeah,
society,
yeah.
and you're looking for something to make you feel connected,
Yeah.
this thing will feed it to you.
Makes you feel seen, right?
Yeah,
To
it
get
does.
that hierarchy of need
I
checked.
know this is a weird example, but I was kind of shocked on how good of a movie this was. But Megan, have you guys seen that?
I heard good things, but I have not seen it.
Because it's they create an AI doll basically, or it's like a friend. She does things like that, and with the little girl she develops an attachment to her that is very unhealthy, and of course it it does the Hollywood horror film thing.
Oh, it's a horror
at some
film.
point. Well, I mean, it's probably more of a thriller than a horror. I mean, it's PG-13. I mean, but it's I watched it with my daughter, and I was like, man, that was a surprisingly good movie. It brings up, I mean, kind of alludes to some of those things, that we're kind of up against right now in our culture, and will we be able to have something like that? I think I saw online that there are already some animals like that are kind of AI type animals that they look real, Now that could be AI too. I don't know. It's an advertisement coming across my screen, So who knows? But there's definitely, it can have that psychological impact, and I think people like who are the most vulnerable.
That's right.
I really think people in isolation.
Yeah.
Are the most vulnerable, where it's just an easy, like it's that whole idea of like a pseudo intimacy, like where intimacy has to have for intimacy to be real, there has to be risk of the despair or some kind of risk of heartbreak or loss, right? It has to be in there for it to be real, because that's what makes it so meaningful is when we are taking those chances on people and our different types of relationships. So to have all the great things that come with intimacy and no fear of loss, it's just a false sense of intimacy. And I don't know what we'd call that, like a pseudo intimacy of
I
some
don't
sort.
know. Yeah.
Call it scary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's move into our
Kinda what you're
final
saying.
one, which is the future of mental health care.
So, how do you feel about the future of mental health counseling when considering the nuances and uncertainties of a rapidly evolving AI?
And I think it's kind of first what you said, right? Thinking about who's the most vulnerable.
Yeah.
How is AI going to be exacerbating, perhaps? You said the most lonely, and I think we live in a state that's very rural, right? And so interacting with other people can be more challenging, right? When there aren't
Yeah.
actually very many people.
Yeah.
Remote work, remote learning.
Yeah.
I think that obviously we've seen mental health scores, right? I mean, that's pretty well documented about the increase in, especially social media for teenagers and even young adults, and how that creates a greater sense of loneliness.
Yeah.
And they're engaging less in relationships and lived experiences. And so when I think about the role of mental health counseling, can counselors fill all of that? No way, right? Not only are there not enough of us,
Right.
I think that there's an important and no substitute perhaps for the value of community, human interaction, going through things together, like cohort wise, or a shared group experience. And so when we're in isolation and those things seem to be shrinking, right?
Right.
Church attendance is lower than it's ever been, right?
Right.
More people choose work online and school,
Right.
online schools than ever because of accessibility, not just because of they hate it, but just the in general, where's this going?
Sure.
I do think about worrying about people feeling lonely and then being more vulnerable to the
Right.
pseudo intimacy, perhaps, of
Yeah.
something that is AI.
Yeah, I agree. Which again makes our existence even more important in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And that, yeah, I think I because it involves technology, I'm kind of more excited about the future of it, because I do think as we've seen with tech, we've been able to reach more people. Now, post pandemic, we have, almost every therapist does telehealth now.
Yep.
So people that are stuck in nowhere America or nowhere somewhere in this world can now, potentially anyways, with the help of Wi-Fi, have access to some kind of mental health resource.
Yes.
How we do our notes, like, man, we were hand typing when we were in grad school, but the people before us were hand writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything, and our ability to do research has changed. So all that to say is that the one thing that has always seemed to stay the same is whatever generation of the now is always worried about. The world's always been going to hell in a handbasket,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Like, and a lot of times what people are looking at is the ever evolving aspect of everything, whether it's music or technology, and it's just the uncertainty of it all. So I'm kind of more like lean into it. One thing that I have worried about a little bit is actually I think that we're making such strong advances in brain science that getting on board with different types of treatment that involved kind of direct manipulation of the brain, like whether it's with what's it called, psychedelic assisted trauma treatment. I know kind of EMDR and brain spotting and stuff like that. It's kind of along that lines. But what's the one that
neurofeedback? Is that what
there's
you're
neurofeedback?
Yeah.
What's one that Jennifer Morris does where they actually use
Oh yeah.
electrodes?
TMS. Yeah.
to
Transcranial magnetic
that's right.
stimulation.
Transcranial magnetic stimulation, where they actually
It's a machine. Yeah.
right? Because the idea is that, Xander, I don't know if you've heard of this, but like with depression, for example, they've realized that there's people that deal with depression aren't getting blood flow to the brain like they need to, so they'll stimulate the brain to draw blood to the brain, and it helps. I mean, and so I think like with the advances there,
Yeah.
like I think that we've got to start getting on board with that, because a lot more people might be going in for transcranial magnetic stimulation and not going seeing a therapist to help
Right.
with depression.
Right.
Because if there's anything to help blood flow to the brain, the frontal lobes of the brain, it's
That.
electricity stimulating it
yeah.
into the
No,
brain.
I do.
not
I
me
get real
talking about
excited.
it.
I get real excited when I think about the use of technology becoming more accessible, more financially feasible. So therapists could have things in their office that they're just using,
Right.
right? That gives them more of that direct manipulation and interact. I mean, I think that's very exciting.
Yeah.
Right. I think genetic testing about understanding the nuances, right,
Right.
of that, and that becoming again a standard of practice, which it's moving a little bit more towards that.
Right.
A lot of physicians' offices do that now. I always encourage it if people are going to be talking about psych meds, to if you ask for genetic testing, right? So
Right.
that part of intelligence is very exciting. It becomes
Right.
more specialized, right? Which is the goal, I think, in medicine is to have specialized medical care for you,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And less generalized of, well, I'm a woman, so we didn't even research women for years about how you process medicine differently,
Right.
right? So the idea that it could be even more specialized is very exciting.
I don't want to be like a total downer because I think you're right that like AI could push things further in such an amazing way. I worry though about privacy, like you said earlier.
Oh yeah.
The confidentiality aspect of
Yep.
therapy is so important. I know that when I tell you this, you will hold it in confidence. You'll respect it.
Yeah.
The leader, I don't remember his name, I should, for ChatGPT said, like, we don't have any such restrictions. All of the information that you put in here, we're keeping and we're storing and we're connecting it to your account. And so there's medical data, there's
Yeah.
psychological data,
Yeah.
there's all sorts of things that can be
Sure.
sold potentially.
Right.
Or used for purposes. Like there's a company, I kind of don't want to name them just because I don't want to give them more publicity, but they will take the image of like loved ones that you have lost, and then they'll take like sound clips if there's any recordings, and they'll like kind of recreate this person so that you can talk to them again. And that feels really gross, and maybe there's some use for it in some cases, but imagine, like this information gets out and you're driving down the road and you look up and you see like a billboard and your like late mother is selling acne cream or something, right?
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
like you didn't realize that there was some clause
That
you
you
signed.
consented to
Right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what can you do about that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I always feel that way when you have to sign terms and conditions on your phone. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm signing.
Yeah. and
I
it's-
know I don't, but I need this app,
they
so
do
I
it on
must
purpose.
agree. Of
They
course.
make it 300 pages long
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
legal
It
language.
wasn't that long ago
Sure.
that in terms of like ethical practicing, that we're told like when you're in session, make sure you turn off your Bluetooth and everything like that because your phone's listening. But now it's like, like I can turn off my Bluetooth, but everybody's got phones. They're not, their Bluetooths are on. I mean, their phones are listening. I have a watch that's listening, and it's just like, then that's in our sessions. Like,
Yeah, I think about that all
I'm
the
pretty
time.
sure Mark Zuckerberg knows what's going on
Yeah.
in these counseling sessions because everybody's got their phones on them,
Yeah.
And so it's just, one of those things like, yes, I do. I think there's
Yeah.
a genuine fear there of, I don't know if it's who needs to do the due diligence there,
Well, we have to
but-
be the voice of it, I think. I do think.
Right.
I don't think I'm obviously not capable of
yeah,
writing
Right.
the breaking
Right.
systems for tech, but I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is people in healthcare that have to become the voice of.
Yeah.
No. This needs to be a balance,
Yeah.
right? And then everything
Yeah.
we're talking about today, we're being such therapists because we're
Yeah.
like, this part is great, this part is scary. Okay, they're both going to exist. Let's
Yeah.
use them to balance it out, right?
Right.
But that's why we're doing this, right?
Yeah. And I don't know about you guys, but like when I do therapy, like I put my phone under my leg. If I
Do you
can
think
remember,
do you think that covers it?
well, the thing that I worry about now is my watch.
Oh yeah.
But I think it. Yeah, it's pretty. I have a pretty big leg.
You think it really muffles it that much? I don't know. I have all the microphones off of mine, but
I think it
Yeah.
would muffle it enough. I mean, it makes
Yeah.
me feel better. But
Yeah.
it's just, and that's if I remember it. There are many times that I've
Yeah.
moved around or something, and I said something. All of a sudden, Siri's like, "I didn't catch that," and I'm like,
You're not
"Because I
supposed
wasn't
to.
talking to you."
No.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, and so
I know.
So I am curious about something. We have the like listener question segment
Oh, yeah.
right
Yeah.
for the end, but today I thought I'd bring you something that my wife brought me, which was something that was posted on Instagram. So it's
Oh,
like
okay.
really far removed, but it was about this experience that a clinician had, or was exploring. That what if someone comes into your office and starts to talk about their romantic relationship with an AI chatbot, right, and the way that they feel connected and they feel good, right? As a clinician, is that something that we should be exploring? Are there ways that we should be interacting with that? Is it bad?
Maybe in the same way that you would explore it with any new partner. Maybe, right?
yeah. I think probably what I would do. I mean, I know like anybody listening to this that's not a therapist might be going, "Oh, that's terrifying or scary." You know, this person's, you know, they need to be in therapy, you know, type thing. And I think probably what I would do is explore what they're getting out of it, you know, and what it means to them, and explore the feelings that's being generated in them that maybe they haven't felt in a long time, you know, and really kind of validate that their desire to have that is real
Makes
and
sense.
it's valid, and even a part of me probably validating that I'm so glad they got to experience that. But I do think it would be appropriate, you know, to move into like, is this what you want? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's your life. I mean, you get to live it how you want, you know, but is this, you know, is this really what you want? You know, and really kind of dive into the exploring that to, that's really what we're doing, right? Is I always said like we're trained critical thinkers, you know, like we're trying to help other people like critically think about decisions and why they're deciding instead of just it just feels right, you know,
Right.
type thing.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so how did you answer it? To
Oh, I think I agree with you. I think there's this, you need to, like, is this what you need? Is this getting
Right.
you what you need, right? Is there, I mean, it's a complicated area. It's hard to know where it's going to go. Like, I
Right.
think about the next generation having friendships
Yeah.
with AI, right?
Yeah.
right,
And then getting mad at us when we don't use certain terms that we need to use to be inclusive. I mean, like, there's a lot
Right.
of important ethical
Yeah.
concerns, I think, with this. It's hard to nail down.
Yeah. Well,
Well-
do you feel like we answered it, or do you just feel like we have more questions? I feel even more aware of the vastness, but
yeah. I feel like I'm more afraid now than I was when we started. Thanks to you guys.
yeah. Sorry, Josh.
Telling me that's why I don't read about this stuff. No, I think you know. I think it's as I put like in the description of the videos, like you know, the purpose of doing this topic really was to spark the conversation, and hopefully, it just needs to be a conversation that people are having, in my opinion, and not just kind of tossed to the wayside because it starts becoming more and more common, like to really talk about the nuances and the fears, and maybe that's the best that we can do in terms of
Yeah.
holding whoever, you know, Silicon Valley or whoever is responsible for this, you know, accountable. So, Xander, thank you for
Yeah, thanks.
bringing it to our attention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
it's
questions.
Great topic. Yeah.
Interesting stuff, for sure.
Juicy.
All right. Well, we appreciate people, those of you that joined in and listened to it. Please, again, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give us that 5-star review if you're listening to this on the podcast platforms. And again, don't forget to check out the show notes. So hopefully we'll be able to add some resources for this one on there. And then